Single dad paid with coins at Walmart. The billionaire CEO behind him saw what was in his cart and froze. The line at the Walmart checkout stretched long on that Tuesday afternoon. Donovan Pierce stood at the register, his hands shaking slightly as he poured quarters from a Ziploc bag onto the counter. His 7-year-old son, Caleb, sat in the cart, holding a handmade birthday card against his chest. The cashier counted slowly, $38.64. Donovan had $36.45 in coins. He was $2.19 short. His hand moved toward the birthday cake, the cheapest one on the shelf, $2.47, yellow cake with vanilla frosting. Caleb's small voice cut through the noise of the busy store. "It's okay, Daddy. We don't need cake." The woman behind them in line stepped forward. She wore a faded University of Texas hoodie and jeans. Her voice was quiet but firm. "Wait, ring it all together. I've got it." Donovan turned, pride and shame competing on his exhausted face. "Ma'am, I can't accept that." "You're not accepting anything. I'm just buying groceries, that's all." She handed her card to the cashier before Donovan could protest again. The transaction completed, $47.83. The woman looked down at Caleb, who was staring at her with wide brown eyes. Caleb whispered, "Are you an angel?" The woman's breath caught. She knelt down to his eye level, and for just a moment, her carefully constructed mask slipped. "No, sweetheart, just someone who thinks daddies deserve birthday cake." Caleb's face brightened. "It's not Daddy's birthday, it's mine. I'm 7 today, but I'm making Daddy a party because he gets really sad on my birthday." The woman froze. Her hands gripped the edge of the cart. She looked at the items lined up in bags. The birthday cake. The single candle shaped like the number 7. The handmade card that read "Happy Birthday, Daddy" in red crayon. Then she looked at Caleb, his small hand still holding his father's jacket, his insulin pump visible under his shirt sleeve, his two serious eyes that had learned too young what it meant to worry about money. She felt sober. 3 days from now, on April 23rd, the daughter she had abandoned 12 years ago would turn 12 years old, and this boy, this beautiful boy who had just given away his own birthday. He shared the exact same birthday as the child she had walked away from. Vivienne Ashford had built a $5.2 billion empire. She had been called a visionary, a disruptor, a titan of industry. Standing in a Walmart checkout line, watching a 7-year-old sacrifice his birthday for his father, she realized she had spent 12 years building the wrong thing. She could walk away, get in her car, go back to her house, pretend she never saw them. She had done it before. Caleb was looking at her with those hopeful eyes. Donovan was picking up the bags with hands that trembled from exhaustion. And in 3 days, her daughter would turn 12 without her. Again. Vivienne followed them to the parking lot. She kept her distance. 50 feet back, hidden behind a row of cars. She watched Donovan load the bags into a 2007 Honda Accord. The passenger door was dented. The bumper held together with duct tape. Donovan opened the back door and helped Caleb into his booster seat. He buckled the straps with practiced efficiency. Then he just stood there, his forehead pressed against the roof of the car, his shoulders shaking. Caleb's voice drifted through the open window. "Daddy, don't cry. We got the cake. We can have the party tonight." Donovan wiped his eyes quickly and climbed into the driver's seat. "Yeah, buddy. We can have the party tonight. Can we invite the angel lady?" Donovan's voice softened. "I don't think she's here anymore, but we can save her a piece of cake." "Okay, I'll write her name on it." "What's her name?" "I don't know, Caleb." "Then I'll just write Angel." The car pulled out of the parking space and drove toward the exit. Vivienne stood in the parking lot as the sun began to set over Austin. She pulled out her phone and took a photo of the license plate before the car disappeared into traffic. Then she got into her own car. A Mercedes she kept registered under a shell company so she could drive without being recognized. She sat behind the wheel and dialed a number she had called only twice before in her life. A man answered on the second ring. "Marcus Cole. Go ahead. I need a full background check. I have a license plate." She read out the numbers. Timeline: 48 hours. I can do 36. Same rate as before. Fine. Anything specific you're looking for? Everything. Employment, medical history, family structure, financial status, housing, everything. There was a pause on the other end. "This is the second one this month. You looking for someone?" Vivian closed her eyes. "Maybe I'm looking for myself." She ended the call and sat in the parking lot for another 20 minutes. The sky turned pink and orange over the buildings on Riverside Drive. She had an acquisition meeting at 7, a conference call with investors at 8:30, a flight to San Francisco at 6 the next morning. She opened her calendar app and scrolled to April 23rd. The date glowed red. She had marked it 12 years ago and never removed it. Claire's birthday. That was the name she had given her daughter before she signed the adoption papers. Claire Ashford, 6 weeks old. Perfect tiny fingers, dark curly hair, eyes that looked at her like she was the whole world. And Vivian had walked away. She started the car and drove to her penthouse in downtown Austin, 40th floor, corner unit, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lady Bird Lake. She poured herself a glass of wine she couldn't taste and stood at the window watching the city lights flicker on one by one. Her assistant Vanessa had left a stack of documents on the dining table: acquisition proposals, market analysis, quarterly projections, the things that had consumed her life for 12 years. She picked up her phone instead and opened her private email, the one only 3 people had access to. There was a message from Marcus. Preliminary information attached. Full report by tomorrow evening. She opened the attachment. Donovan Alexander Pierce, age 32. Widower. Wife Simone Pierce died in childbirth 7 years ago, April 23rd. The same day, Vivian set down her wine glass. Donovan worked 3 jobs: medical transport driver from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, freelance medical coding from 3 until 6, overnight inventory at a wholesale warehouse 3 nights a week from 11 until 4 in the morning. He slept an average of 3 to 4 hours a night. His son Caleb had been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 5. The monthly cost of insulin, pump supplies, and monitoring equipment ranged from $400 to $600, even with insurance. Donovan's insurance was catastrophic coverage only, high deductible. It covered emergencies. It did not cover the daily cost of keeping a diabetic child alive. The report included a note from Caleb's endocrinologist, his sugar levels climbing over the past 6 months, from 7.2 to 8.1 to 8.9. The doctor had flagged it as a concern. One more elevated reading would trigger a mandatory report to Child Protective Services. Donovan wasn't neglecting his son. He was rationing insulin to make the supplies last longer, a math problem with no good solution. Insulin or rent, insulin or food, insulin or electricity. He was choosing insulin and rationing everything else, including the insulin itself. Vivian read the report 3 times. Then she made another call. Vanessa answered immediately. "Miss Ashford, I thought you were in meetings until 9. Cancel them. All of them? All of them. And I need you to pull up our donor database for the Diabetes Research Alliance, the nonprofit we fund in Austin." "Hold on." Vivian heard typing in the background. "Got it. We donated $2 million last year, matching grant for research and family support services." I need a contact, someone who handles supply distribution to families. That would be Rachel Stark. She runs their community outreach program. Set up a meeting tomorrow. Early. How early? 7. Miss Ashford, you have the San Francisco flight at 6. Cancel the flight. There was a pause. Are you all right? Vivian looked at her reflection in the dark window. 38 years old. Successful beyond measure. Alone in a penthouse that cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. I don't know yet. The next morning, Vivienne sat across from Rachel Stark in a small office on East 7th Street. Rachel was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and the efficient manner of someone who had learned to do more with less. So you want to donate additional insulin supplies directly to families. That's incredibly generous, but we already have a distribution system in place. I understand. But I want to fund a separate stream, a private fund that provides supplies on an expedited basis. No paperwork, no wait lists, just families who need help. Rachel studied her carefully. If this story is touching your heart, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Sometimes the smallest moments change everything. Miss Ashford, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but we have protocols for a reason. We need to verify medical need. We need to ensure supplies go to the right people. Vivian slid a piece of paper across the desk. On it was Caleb Pierce's name, date of birth, and medical record number. This child, I want him to receive supplies immediately, whatever he needs: insulin, pump supplies, glucose monitors, everything. Rachel looked at the paper. Do you know this family personally? I met them yesterday, for 5 minutes. Rachel sat back in her chair. Miss Ashford, with all due respect, you can't just hand out medical supplies based on a 5-minute encounter. There are legal issues, liability issues. Then I'll cover the liability. I'll set up a fund. $1 million to start. You distribute it as you see fit. But this child gets what he needs, today. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. Why this child? Vivian's voice came out barely above a whisper. Because I have a daughter I gave up 12 years ago, and she's about to turn 12 in 2 days, and I can't give her back the birthdays I missed. But maybe I can give another child a chance to celebrate theirs. Rachel's expression softened. What's your daughter's name? Claire. And this boy, Caleb, he reminds you of her? Vivienne shook her head. He reminds me of everything I chose not to be. Rachel reached across the desk and squeezed Vivian's hand. I'll make the call today. The family will receive a notification that they've been selected for our emergency supply program. They won't know it came from you. Vivienne exhaled. Thank you. But Miss Ashford, medical supplies only solve one problem. That father is working himself to death. Supplies won't fix that. I know. Are you planning to do something about that too? Vivienne stood and walked to the window. The morning sun was bright over the city. I don't know what I'm planning yet, but I can't walk away. I tried that once. It cost me everything that mattered. She left the office and drove to the elementary school where Marcus Cole's report said Caleb attended 2nd grade. She parked across the street and waited. At 2:30, the bell rang, and children poured out of the building. She saw Donovan's car pull up to the curb. He was still wearing his scrubs from the medical transport job. He got out and waited by the passenger door. Other parents chatted with each other. Donovan stood alone. Caleb came running out. His backpack bounced against his small shoulders. He threw himself into his father's arms. Donovan lifted him up and spun him around once before setting him down and checking his insulin pump. You check your sugar at lunch? Caleb nodded. 147. Good job, buddy. They got in the car and drove away. Vivienne sat in her Mercedes and watched them disappear down the street. Then she made a decision that would change everything. She was going to meet them again, properly this time, and she was going to help. She just had to figure out how to do it without revealing who she really was. Vivian created a simple cover story. She would be Ellie Reyes, a medical advocate who worked with diabetes nonprofits. She arranged a chance meeting at Caleb's school pickup the following week. She pretended her niece attended the same school, struck up a conversation with Donovan about the challenges of managing children's schedules. Caleb recognized her immediately. "Daddy, that's the angel from the store." Donovan made the connection. His face shifted between gratitude and discomfort. "Wait, you're the woman who paid for our groceries." Vivienne smiled. "Small world. Austin's not as big as people think." They talked for 15 minutes. She mentioned the diabetes supply program, said she had connections, could help get Caleb enrolled for free pump supplies and insulin. Donovan's pride surfaced immediately. "We're managing fine, but thank you." Then Caleb's glucose monitor beeped. The number on the screen read 240, too high. Donovan's face went carefully blank. Like a parent who had learned not to panic in front of his child, Vivian pulled out a business card, a real nonprofit she donated to regularly. She had already arranged for them to route supplies through their program. "The offer stands. No paperwork, no income verification, just supplies." For Caleb, Donovan took the card. He didn't want to. She could see it in the way his fingers hesitated. But his son's monitor had just beeped, and the math didn't work, and he was out of choices. Over the next 3 months, Vivian became part of their lives. She started small, delivered supplies every 2 weeks, then offered to pick up Caleb from school on days when Donovan's schedule was impossible. He resisted. But the truth was, he couldn't be in 2 places at once. She learned to check Caleb's blood sugar, count carbohydrates, troubleshoot his insulin pump. She discovered she was good at this, being needed, being trusted. Caleb adored her. He taught her his favorite video games, showed her his drawings, talked about his mother. "Mommy's in heaven. Daddy says she watches over me. Do you think she can see me from up there? I think if she's watching, she's very proud of you." Donovan slowly opened up during evening conversations on his apartment balcony after Caleb fell asleep. He talked about Simone, how they met in college, married at 24. She got pregnant at 25. The pregnancy was complicated, early labor. She died of postpartum hemorrhage 14 hours after Caleb was born. "I held my newborn son and my dead wife on the same day. I don't celebrate Caleb's birthday. I survive it." Vivian asked what he did before. "I was finishing my nursing degree. Dropped out when Simone died. Couldn't afford tuition and a baby. Another dream abandoned because the numbers didn't add up." 5 months into their friendship, Donovan asked a question Vivian had been dreading. "Can I ask you something personal, Ellie?" "Maybe." "Do you have kids?" The lie came automatically. "No. You'd be a great mom. The way you are with Caleb. It's natural." The words landed in a place she had locked away for 12 years. That night, Vivian sat in her car outside Donovan's apartment building and texted Marcus. "I need the investigator again. It's time to find my daughter." The report came back 48 hours later. Claire Catherine Ashford, age 11, currently in foster care at Columbia River Youth Services in Portland, Oregon. Her adoptive mother, Catherine, had died of ovarian cancer 18 months ago. Her adoptive father, James, had entered rehab for alcoholism 6 months later. Claire had been placed in the system when he terminated his parental rights. The daughter Vivienne had given up for a better life, was living in a group home. Vivienne booked a flight to Portland for April 22nd, one day before Claire's 12th birthday. She told no one. But the night before her flight, her phone rang at 11. Donovan's voice was panicked. "Caleb won't wake up. His blood sugar is 38. I gave him juice, but he's not responding. I'm calling 911. Which hospital? Dell Children's Medical Center. I'm coming. Vivian arrived in 12 minutes, found Donovan in the emergency room waiting area, shaking, pale, terrified. They said severe hypoglycemia. His pump malfunctioned, over-delivered insulin while he slept. If I hadn't checked on him. His voice broke. I can't lose him. He's all I have. Vivian held him while he fell apart. Caleb stabilized. They kept him overnight for observation. Vivian stayed. At 4 in the morning, Donovan woke up in the chair beside Caleb's bed and saw her still there. You didn't have to stay. Yes, I did. He studied her face in the dim light. Ellie, who are you really? Vivian almost told him. But Caleb stirred and mumbled her name. She went to his bedside, smoothed his hair back. Caleb fell back asleep. Donovan whispered, He loves you. You know that, right? Vivian couldn't answer. The next afternoon, while Caleb was still under observation, a business news segment played on the television in his hospital room. Vivian's face filled the screen. Professional headshot, power suit. The headline read, Helix Dynamics CEO, Vivian Ashford, closes $800 million acquisition. Caleb looked at the TV, looked at Vivian, looked back at the TV. Miss Ellie, is that you? Donovan walked in from the hallway, saw the screen, saw Vivian's face, saw the words Billionaire CEO. The room went silent. Donovan asked Caleb to put on his headphones and watch his tablet. Then he turned to Vivian. Who are you? They moved to the hallway. Donovan's voice was quiet, controlled, angry. You're Vivian Ashford. You're worth billions. And you've been lying to me for 5 months. I wasn't lying about wanting to help. You've been playing pretend, slumming it with the poor widower and his sick kid. Is this some kind of guilt project? Vivian's voice cracked. I have a daughter. I gave up 12 years ago. I don't know how to be a mother. I saw you and Caleb, and I saw what I threw away. Donovan stopped. The anger drained into something else. So, we're your practice family. Your trial run before you go find your real kid. No. Did you think about what happens to Caleb when you leave? He loves you, and you're going to disappear just like his mother did. You already did it once. To your own child, why would my son be different? The words cut through her. Donovan walked back into Caleb's room. Vivian stood in the hallway under fluorescent lights that buzzed too loud. She left the hospital, drove to her house, and broke. April 23rd arrived, Claire's 12th birthday, Caleb's 8th birthday. Vivian woke to her calendar reminder glowing red. She had a flight to Portland booked for 9. But she couldn't stop thinking about Caleb in that hospital bed saying, I had a bad dream. I was alone. She called her assistant. Cancel Portland. Miss Ashford, you said this was important. I know. Cancel it anyway. She drove to Donovan's apartment instead, left a package at the door. New insulin pump, 6-month supply of sensors, envelope with a check for $50,000. Handwritten note that said, I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I made you feel used. You're the best father I've ever seen. Caleb is lucky to have you. I'm sorry I can't be what he needed. She drove away. At 7 that evening, her phone rang. Donovan, you can't just drop a check and disappear. I thought that's what you wanted. It's what I said when I was angry. It's not what Caleb wants. He's been asking for you all day. It's his birthday. He doesn't want presents. He wants you here. Vivian's voice broke. I don't deserve that. I know, but he's 7. He doesn't care about deserve. He cares that you promised you wouldn't leave and then you did. I don't know how to fix this. Start by showing up. Vivian drove to Donovan's apartment. Knocked. Caleb opened the door and threw his arms around her waist. Miss Ellie, you came. She knelt down and held him. I'm sorry I left. I'm so sorry. Daddy said you had to work. It's okay. You're here now. They ate cake, sang happy birthday. Caleb insisted they sing to Donovan too because it's a shared party. After Caleb fell asleep on the couch, Vivian and Donovan sat on the balcony. She told him everything: the daughter she gave up at 6 weeks old, the closed adoption, the 12 years of guilt, the discovery that Claire was in foster care. And she's turning 12 today, same day as Caleb. Donovan exhaled slowly. And you're here instead of there. I came because Caleb asked me to. I already abandoned one child on their birthday. I couldn't do it again. Jesus, Vivian, I know. You need to go get her. I don't know how. The same way you showed up here, you just go. The next morning, Vivienne flew to Portland. Donovan came with her. They walked into Columbia River Youth Services at 4 in the afternoon. Vivienne asked for the caseworker, Sharon Voss. I'm here about Claire Ashford. I'm her birth mother. Sharon was surprised. The adoption was closed. How did you even find her? I hired someone. I know I have no legal rights, but I need to see her, please. Why now? Vivian's voice shook. Because I met a boy who taught me what love looks like, and I realized I've been celebrating the wrong things for 12 years. Sharon brought Claire out 10 minutes later, 12 years old. Vivian's eyes, dark curly hair, thin, guarded. Claire saw Vivian and stopped. You look like the picture. Vivian couldn't speak. Claire's voice was flat, rehearsed. Mom said you gave me up so I could have a better life. She said you were important, building something big. I was building a company, and I lost you, and I'm so sorry. Then why didn't you come sooner? Because I was scared. Because I told myself you were better off without me. Because I didn't know how to be a mother. And now you do? No, but I met someone who showed me that being a parent isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up even when you're terrified. Claire looked at Donovan. Who's he? A friend. I have a son your age. He taught your mom how to make really bad pancakes. Claire almost smiled. Vivian knelt down. I know I don't have the right to ask, but I want to take you home, if you'll let me. Why now? Because yesterday was your birthday, and I wasn't there. And I can't get that back, but I can be here today and tomorrow, and every day after, if you'll give me the chance. Claire stepped forward, hugged her, awkward, tentative, real. 6 months later, after legal battles and social worker visits and therapy sessions, the judge granted permanent custody. Vivian officially became Claire's mother. At the courthouse, Donovan and Caleb sat in the front row. Afterward, Claire hugged Caleb. We're not related, but you're kind of like my brother now. Does that mean I can borrow your laptop? No. Worth a shot. That night, they all had dinner at Vivian's house. Claire and Caleb played video games. Vivian and Donovan sat on the balcony. You did it. We did it. You showed me how. For what it's worth, you're a good mom. The words she had wanted to hear for 12 years. I'm trying. 1 year later, on April 23rd, they celebrated both birthdays together. 2 cakes. Vivian's apartment full of people. Claire blew out her candles. Caleb blew out his. Caleb announced his wish. I wish Miss Vivian and my dad get married, so Claire can really be my sister. Everyone laughed. Vivian and Donovan exchanged a look. They had been dating for 6 months. Later, after the kids fell asleep, Donovan pulled Vivian close. For the record, when I do propose, it won't be because Caleb asked. It'll be because I can't imagine my life without you. Good. Because I can't imagine mine without you either. Vivian had built a $5.2 billion empire. But standing there with Donovan, watching their children sleep in the next room, she realized she had finally built something that mattered. A family. And this time she was staying.